Little Witch in the Woods is a very cute and relaxing game that I very quickly sunk hours into. The premise is simple. You play as an apprentice witch named Ellie who ends up rebuilding a village that she stumbles upon in the woods. And that comprises your days, gathering materials, making potions, and fixing up the village so former villagers move back in. It's a quiet life, and scratches my itch for both sim games and witchy games. Not to mention my desire to escape city life and live in a little witch hut in the woods myself. In short, I want to be Ellie. If you also have those urges, you'll love this game. The game is currently in early access and is still being worked on and added to, so some of my comments here may change in the future. There isn't an announced date for the full release, although they hope to complete it by the end of 2023. In the meantime, updates are regularly adding new content. An update just this past month added a new area, and you'll have plenty to do if you get it now and support it in its early access development. Although the map and the game are still fairly small, it's full of delightful exploration. I still find myself stumbling onto secret areas after I've been all over the map 100 times. Also, the developers are working on adding in house customization, which makes it an automatic win in my book. The house is already cute, but now I'll get to make it uniquely mine. I'm very excited for this update. However, the game's not perfect, although some things may change as development continues, and I have faith on that. Noticeably, it suffers from big limitations on what you can do in a day. There are only so many squishy chubs to harvest, for example, which is a common ingredient for making the potions that the two shops frequently ask for. That in turn limits the amount of money you can make each day by a lot, which then limits progressing the story. I understand not wanting people to rush through, but the slowness is a little too forced in my opinion. I don't feel like I have a choice in how to spend my day. I'd rather be able to choose to harvest or not, but I have to do it every day with the limits. Speaking of forced, there is a forced bedtime. You have to be in bed by midnight, or you pass out and sleep in 2 extra hours the next day. Sure, this is a common mechanic in many sim games, and it works really well in some, but not here. Spawns for many things are tied to daytime hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or nighttime hours of 6 p.m. to midnight. You have significantly less time to get the nighttime spawns, especially when factoring in getting home. If you're on the other side of the map, it can take about an hour to get home. At this point, there is no fast travel, although you can travel slightly faster on your broom, but that would help a lot with this issue. There may likely be plans to implement this in the future as development continues and the game's world expands. I don't think fast travel is inherently a necessity in the game on its own, but it is if the night system doesn't change. Finally, the writing needs polish. Some of the dialogue is delightful, but other dialogue is oddly stilted or formal at times. Speech switches tenses often in a single conversation, and characters randomly refer to themselves or the person they're talking to in third person. There are also a lot of typos. Maybe it's just grammar, but it's these details that jolt me out of the experience. But like I said, it just needs polish. An editor for this would go a long way. Note to the developers, I do have a bachelor's in English literature if you're interested. As one last note, I recently got a Steam Deck, and I'm happy to say that this plays flawlessly on it so far. Most of my playtime in this game, aside from getting footage for this video, was on my Steam Deck, and I encountered absolutely no issues. That's great to see on a personal note, because I largely hate sitting at my desk to play relaxing games unless it's for a video. I just want to be comfy cozy on my couch while I play my comfy cozy games, and Little Witch in the Woods lets me. Additionally, the Steam Deck or controller controls are great. I didn't find the keyboard controls to be as bad as some people have, although they're a little awkward regarding muscle memory with other games. However, I don't think this is a flaw with the game's design, and I think the keyboard controls are fine, but if you're struggling with them, consider plugging in a controller and using that schematic. Overall, Little Witch in the Woods isn't perfect, but it's delightful, charming, and relaxing. And it's still being worked on, so my few criticisms may be nullified by the time it's fully released. But if you pick it up now, you won't be disappointed. Have fun living out your witchy cottagecore dreams.